What's going on, guys? TG or Thunder God here today, hosting another video for you, the people. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but you know, anyway. It's a pretty interesting topic, that being what if Pain attacked each of the 5 great villages, excluding the Leaf, of course, because it happened. How would it go? Now, to make this video more interesting, Pain isn't allowed to use the almighty push that he wiped the Leaf with, as he'd be searching for intel for each of the villages to Cherokee. So this video is really which village can actually repel Pain, kind of gauging the strength of each village in the video. So it's kind of like a couple different topics in one video. This will be each village with the characters being their 5 Kage Summit incarnations. I'll be ranking each village in terms of how many Paths of Pain they could take down. Arbitrary way to rank it, but roll with it. Each village will not have their Jinchuriki to support them. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you're new here, like me, like my videos, like my docile toe. Oh my God. Go get into the video. Now, starting off, we have the Hidden Sand. Now, for the sake of the discussion, I'll be using Gaara and his siblings during the 5 Kage Summit, as I previously mentioned. And off rip, the Hidden Sand actually does not have great stats when referring to the village as a whole. Going off the data book, they have a 2 out of 5 for population, 2 out of 5 for military, and 2 out of 5 for economy, which is consistent with the Sand's lore, as they didn't even want any tail beast. They just wanted resources due to the land being so non-fertile. But the Hidden Sand is very interesting to me, as they have a definitive terrain advantage, which will not only amplify their wind style jutsu, it also offers Gaara infinite amounts of sand to use at his disposal. And along with this, the terrain also makes it more difficult for the Paths of Pain to see, the Rinnegan not being able to directly see through smoke clouds or smoke bombs, as evidenced in Naruto's fight with Pain, or in the fight with Nagato, where he's unable to see the Susanoo through the giant puff of smoke. Now, this is all well and good, but at the same time, it'll be difficult for the Sand to really defend against Pain, as they don't have a plethora of known shinobi we can use, which is a common theme with these villages. The Sand's biggest asset is quite obviously going to be Gaara, who at this point is able to intercept the Raikage, who in his quote-unquote version 2, which is, you know, more so a fan-made name, but like what we deem his like higher speed to be, or max speed, along with Sasuke's Enton. So his Sand does have some considerable speed at this point. Gaara would also discover Pain a lot quicker than the other ninja villages due to Gaara's third eye, seeing as Deidara made no notable disturbances, yet Gaara was able to discern his location exactly. Gaara himself would actually perform very well depending on the Path of Pain he fights and the support he has. But the problem is with Gaara and a lot of other characters in the video, he's not going to be able to use large quantities of sand unless he's in the air, as it would bury the villagers. An in-character move for Gaara would actually be to probably force all the Paths into the air to try and fight him to leave the village alone, similar to the Deidara scenario. I would definitely see Gaara attempting to take on Pain as a whole while allowing Temari, Kankuro, and other Sand ninja to assist him from the ground. In which case, it gets a little weird to talk about like Pain in the air, because that's not really like how he fights. But I will say, like, Pain actually is very agile. Not a lot of people bring up, and he'll like throw himself off of other paths, or like throw himself out of moves. So if like Paths of Pain do start getting taken out by the Sand, he can always chuck himself out, as well as blatantly repelling Gaara's Sand with the Diva Path. So even though Pain's attacking the Sand village as a whole, I would definitely see Gaara trying to turn it into a 1v1, or like a 6v1, I guess you could say, with it being identical to the Deidara situation, where the Pain's like, I don't have to look for you, we can fight right here. Pain more than likely going to be coming to the same conclusions and deductions that Deidara did, which will lead to Gaara's capture. Gaara flying isn't even that detrimental, since the Animal Path can summon the giant bird, or potentially the chameleon, which could sneak around Gaara. There's a whole bunch of different things. If Pain can fly to like the sky when he's fighting the Leaf Village and just nuke it, I don't think aerial combat's gonna be that crazy for him, which more so outlines a big issue for the Sand Village, that being the reliance on the Kazekage and their Sand techniques. Even repelling the One Tail, it was strictly like the Kazekage who was the one who did it. Same thing with Raza. So the Sand Village's problem is that there's too much reliance on Gaara, with Gaara who's going to be prioritizing the village's safety over his own, exactly like the Deidara fight. So I'll give the Sand Village 2 Paths of Pain, as it's entirely possible that if he finds a path on its own, like the Naraka path that Konohamaru was able to take down, with Gaara displaying much better speed feats than Konohamaru with his Sand, he'll have an answer for the Naraka path. He should be able to take it down, but you know, the Diva path is just going to honestly blow any like Sand coffin attempts by Gaara out the window, in which case like Gaara would just fatigue himself by by lifting all that sand over the village and would inevitably get captured. So the Sand Village gets a score of 2 Paths of Pain. Next up, we have the Hidden Mist Village. Now, the Hidden Mist is also another one of those weird ones. For example, we'll talk about their rankings in the data book. They have a 2 out of 5 for population. Military is a 3 out of 5, and economy is a 2 out of 5. Now, the issue with the Hidden Mist is that a lot of their military might, similar to the Sand, is dampened or like weakened due to internal turmoil, and that, you know, this is common knowledge within the Naruto series. But the Hidden Mist has gone through some like cycles of extreme bloodshed, with the 5th Mizukage being the one to kind of lead the reform out of that dark age. And the result of this is them losing a lot of assets, like the 7 ninja swordsmen's weapons being out of the village, or how the Hidden Mist has verbatim bad control over their Jinchuriki, with the 6 Tails Jinchuriki becoming a missing nin. If you've seen anime original content with Utakata, you would know that he was in contact with like the Amu Black Ops of the Hidden Mist Village before he was captured by Pain. So the Hidden Mist just has a lot of internal unrest. Now, with that being said, the Hidden Mist actually does have some terrain advantages. Again, it's covered by thick fog, isolated from foreign countries, so a lot of Hidden Mist shinobi can actually use the fog to their advantage against Pain. That's definitely something I could see. Problem is that we don't have any real knowledge of any of those shinobi who are present in the village at the time of the 5th Mizukage. We just kind of have like a lot of Hidden Mist shinobi. The 5th Mizukage, Ao, who doesn't really occupy that much of a combative role, and Chojuro, who's actually really interesting. We're gonna talk about Chojuro real quick. Chojuro is actually kind of crazy depending on his confidence level. Who, you know, in the 5 Kage Summit, he's like really nervous around Sasuke, and Sasuke is shown to be able to perceive and block his attack with the Susanoo. But this actually isn't his best showing, as Chojuro improves based on his confidence levels, shown blatantly when he outperforms a KCM-1 Naruto clone, one-shotting Black Zetsu, earning praise from the clone, along with Black Zetsu, who notes the speed of which he can change his chakra blade shape is ridiculously fast, like too fast for him to react to. So there is a bit of potential with Chojuro actually taking down some Paths of Pain. The only problem is this is really dependent on Chojuro's emotions, and at this point in the series, where I'm doing it, he doesn't really have that level of confidence, so I would say it isn't the most fair to give him this feat. If you did, however, you can make a legitimate case based on, you know, him outperforming the KCM-1 Naruto clone. They'd be too much for the Paths of Pain individually, especially the ones that aren't as offensive, like the human path. And when I say not as offensive, I mean like shooting out weapons and stuff like that. Like the human path's still crazy. If it touches you, that's the fight. GG, soul snap. Mei is also really impressive. I've been guilty of like kind of bashing on Mei a lot on my channel, and it's not that she's weak. She actually has a lot of like ridiculous AP in her jutsu. She's able to blatantly melt the Susanoo of Sasuke or Madara, whether with her lava style or how she can like change the pH, even burning Sasuke's skin when he's in the Susanoo. I think the more interesting part of this discussion, and like what's the real question, is she going to be able to hit Pain with her lava style? It's a lot harder to say, you know, and it gets into like the whole deal with like, it really depends where the Diva Path decides to go when he gets into his villages. For example, if the Diva Path goes to fight Mei, that's kind of the fight, especially with the Asura Path sticking very close to the Diva Path. Mei wouldn't really be able to raise the pH in the area that much, since it would be harmful to the villagers. So that argument's really out. Pain really doesn't have to deal with too much in this village. He's gonna have an easier time. They just don't have like any different circumstances going for them. Like the Sand, you could maybe make a case like, okay, Gaara's aerial, that'll give him some like advantages. He has terrain he can use, all of this stuff. But you know, we don't really have anything for the Mist. You know, and maybe you could argue like the 5th Mizukage is like faster based on her fight with Madara, but in the 5 Kage Summit, Sasuke is shown just throwing up his Susanoo before her lava style connects. He's also able to dodge out the way of it before it hits like the door. So it's not like her jutsu speed is going to be that substantial either. Honestly, Chojuro probably has a better argument in some situations based on technique speed, but the Hidden Mist really isn't this military juggernaut, which is more so due to their internal like turmoil. So Pain's gonna have a pretty easy time with this. I'll give them 1 Path of Pain, which really is the bare minimum for an entire village fighting Pain. Seeing, you know, again, as like Konohamaru could take out the Naraka path. The Mizukage like should be able to take out one of the lower paths, maybe with Chojuro too. But you know, Pain's really just gonna bully the Hidden Mist. Isn't that crazy compared to a lot of different villages. So 1 Path of Pain for the Hidden Mist. Now, next up we have the Hidden Cloud. Now, the Hidden Cloud has the best stats compared to any other village, having a 3 out of 5 of population, 4 out of 5 for military, 5 out of 5 for economics, so no wonder that the village was constantly thriving. And everybody probably assumed this, but the Hidden Cloud has the best chance of taking down Pain compared to the other ninja villages. Even ignoring the Raikage and B, who could both be argued to be stronger than Pain in their own right, depending on the person. Calm down. More on this in a minute. The Hidden Cloud, even in the age of disarmament, they went around collecting ninjutsu and seeking power, making them a lot stronger overall compared to the other ninja villages. You can actually even see this with the aids of the Raikage. For example, you got Darui and C, who have really good showing. C with light-based genjutsu and a sensor unit, which will be like very pivotal for the Raikage going around trying to attack the paths of Pain. You also have Darui, who's like on par with the Raikage and like lower versions of speed, or version 1, I guess you could say. So let's say Pain's attacking the Cloud. The Pains are separated somewhat, but the Asura path sticks close to the Diva path, and the Raikage attempts to square up with the Diva and Asura path with his aids by him. This matchup is quite literally the same as Minato versus Pain, or like Pain versus KCM1 Naruto, in the sense that we have these fast bruisers who represent a milestone of speed in the series. There's a couple ways you could look at it. You know, the Raikage can rival KCM1 Naruto, obviously, you know, possibly mental health, all that nonsense. But the Nine Tails Chakra being what Naruto believes is the next step in terms of power, a lot of anime original content does somewhat paint KCM1 as being the level beyond Pain. For example, in the Infinite Tsukiyomi Dream sequence, Naruto attains KCM1 and proceeds to absolutely just neg Almighty Push. He just runs through it, which I think is crazy. I don't know, like, I wouldn't say that's accurate, but it happens. So, you know, I don't know if it's a possibility. We just haven't seen characters react this way. I would assume there'd be limits to gravitational powers and why Rinnegan users stopped using them against certain opponents. I think that's kind of lazy writing on Kishimoto's part. I would have loved to see that, but I digress. This might be consistent with the Nine Tails Chakra, at least the Six Tails being able to press Pain, who is weaker than Naruto with the Nine Tails Chakra Cloak. If you believe this, and it is somewhat implied, then the Raikage would be able to take down any path of Pain individually. His speed and reaction times would be way too high, with Pain having no showings of such, unless you may assert some lore arguments. If it's the Diva and Asura path, there's some possibility of an instant GG against the Raikage, especially if like someone of Sage Mode Naruto's physical prowess or in KCM1 is able to physically resist the gravitational force of Bancho Tenin, with Pain having the ability to pierce through the Raikage's cloak with his Rinnegan rods. The way I'll word it is like this: if Pain takes the same approach that he did with the Leaf Village in the Cloud, I think there is a pretty decent chance the Cloud could come out with a W, especially if the Diva path tries to square up with the Raikage just by himself or with the Asura path. And that turns into a very different fight if, you know, Darui and C are right next to the Raikage, especially if they perform the light-based Genjutsu, which is going to be absolutely horrendous for Pain and is all the Raikage really needs to take him down. The point of this little like video isn't to say like Raikage versus B or anything like that. It's more so to discuss like Pain's approach to taking down a village and how I do not believe it would be as effective on the Hidden Cloud, due to how the Hidden Cloud on average is stronger than a lot of the other hidden villages, with the Raikage not relying on a lot of ginormous attacks like the particle style or sand tsunamis or anything like that. He just kind of goes around and minks with his fists or like taijutsu. So the Hidden Cloud would get 5 paths of Pain out of 6. Honestly, this is like Pain has a Pain's strategy is the least effective against this village. They're the actual worst opponents for him. It really just kind of comes down to like your perception on a lot of mini matchups, but regardless, like Pain's gonna have the most difficult time against the Cloud Village. Next up, we have the Hidden Stone. Their databook stats are also pretty impressive, having a 4 out of 5 out of population, 4 out of 5 in military, and 2 out of 5 out of economy. So they're on par with the Hidden Cloud in terms of like military force, which is consistent with the Hidden Stone having a more militaristic political scene, even using the Akatsuki at certain points. So Hidden Stone is actually pretty impressive. They have the obvious in Onoki, you know, particle style, the Tsuchikage's aid, able to react to attacks from Akatsuki Edos like Deidara, or even the second company commander Kitsuchi, who was brawling with version 2 Kinkaku. He wasn't able to damage him. I have to make that clear because AP is not going to be that high, but he was able to just blow him back. And quite frankly, this is another one of those matchups where Onoki is unfortunately going to be carrying for his village, as he's not able to even like shoot out large particle style attacks, as his village is going to be in the way. So it's just not going to be good. And even if he did, 2 out of 6 Pains can repel or absorb ninjutsu. This also applies to Kitsuchi, who won't be able to shoot out the mountain level Earth Jutsu that was able to hold back the Geto statue and 10 Tails for very brief periods of times. A better argument for Onoki, and one I talk about a lot, is like him using his weighted or lightweight earth techniques to incapacitate Pain, which quite honestly being what I see to be the most useful. But the truth of the matter is Onoki's greatest attribute is going to be an extreme liability, making it so him and other high-ranking members in his village won't be able to utilize their absurd large-scale earth-style techniques, especially in a village that's like stone, like it's all stone and stuff like that. So they won't even be able to really use those techniques. You can make a case they'd be useful in repelling Pain summons and whatnot, but unfortunately due to the nature of the animal pad, they wouldn't be able to stop them all. It's another one of those situations where these large-scale fighters aren't suited to take on Pain, especially if Pain's in their village. In which case, he's just gonna go around getting intel with the human path and like read the mind of, like, for example, Shizune when they did in the original timeline. And if Pain at any point decided to almighty push like any of these villages, there's not too much they can do, as none of them have any attacks to really stop that. Maybe save like complete A-Tails Killer Bee. Generally, the Hidden Stone should have a more impressive, like, standing militant of Shinobi than a lot of the other villages, along with a lot of the aides being pretty impressive themselves. So I'd say they'd get 3 Paths of Pain, especially if Onoki decides to start like fighting alongside them and he starts to make his aides fly around, which might be a canon scenario as he'll like fly up to try and use particle style and bait Pain into fighting him in the air. That's something I could see, similar to what he did with Deidara. So 3 Paths of Pain out of 6, and that's the video. It's a little different, I know. This was more so to just kind of like talk about how if Pain really did decide to just go squaring up with other villages, it was kind of clipped for everybody. The only real one who's like debatable is the Hidden Cloud, which is like more so it kind of gives me a reason to talk about other villages too. I want to talk about them. So the Hidden Cloud overall are just animals. They're freaks. They're dope. They got the best drip. Unrelated, but they do. So it really just kind of goes to show, like, Hidden Cloud, we're those boys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you did. Let me know your guys' thoughts. How do you think the villages do? Do you see any village like actually taking down Pain? What's your thoughts and all that? Keep in mind, Pain's not using Chibaku Tensei or Almighty Push until the very end, and he gets the intel he needs. Or maybe he's like prompted to anger like he was in the original timeline by Tsunade. Regardless, let me know your thoughts down below. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.